Kanapwel and you ready to tackle your day. Kama unaenda ofisini natumai kwamba tayari ushafika pale ofisini, na kama pia ni mtu wa jua kali natumai kwamba tayari ushafika pale. Unasema kazi ni kazi, mboka ni mboka, wera ni wera. Haya, tuende ni kazi tukatafute riziki ya siku. It is another day, it's a new day on the tackle, and it is a Thursday of 19 August 2021. This is the Diaspora edition that we get to have a conversation with Kenyans and also get to have views from diaspora on what happens and what they think they would run the country. Leo tuko na wanasiasa tupu. Okay, leo lakini mwingine anasema ni mwanasiasa nusu. Lakini we're going to have a conversation today on the issues that affect the nation. Let's start with, we talk about BBI, we talk about the coalition politics, we talk about the state of the nation. Mambo pia curfew has been extended for another 60 days. Wakenya sijui mnahisi vipi? 60 days again. Ingine unaongezewa 60 days ya curfew restriction. So I mean, it's at the time when you're talking about a bad economy, you're talking about citizens who are complaining about their businesses going down. I thought I'd imagine that maybe the government would be more lenient and give Kenyans another opportunity to be able to work for themselves. Anyway, this is the tackle and it begins now. Lakini kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu kirudi tunakuja kuwapa salamu zenu. Mighty Father, we come before you this morning. We worship, we glorify your name. Thank you for another opportunity to be alive this morning. We thank you for this program. As we're going to have this conversation, may it edify the fabric of this nation. Even the tacklers, may we meet them at their individual point of needs. And when we finish, glory and honor shall come back to your name. Amen and amen. Asante. When you join in, please like. When you like, I get to know that you're watching us. And after you like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is a Tackle Diaspora edition, and it begins now. Aya, wacha tuone jamaa hapa. Emmanuel Serem, good morning. Good morning to you, my brother. Good to see you. Balesi Eric Meja asema Serengei alikuyani Kakamega County already tuned in. Asante David Kamau, good morning. Good morning to my brother Kim Taiko H. Good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Jared Kimeto, good morning. GB tuko live. Asante sana mheshimiwa Tapsago Iward. Jared Kimeto, good to see you. Good morning. Emmanuel Serem Moses ameamusha Honorable Moses Kebenenyu Ganet. Huyu jamaa anamushwanga na amuki bana. Jeptap Kibiri ameamusha na Natasha Meto. Asante sana. Naona la Costa KE anasema good morning Bitok tuko locked my friend. Asante sana ndugu yangu. Maro Mugesh locked out Kidhurai 45. Asante sana Maro. You've been consistent. Thank you for joining in. You are a new fan. Naona kwamba consistency yako iko rada kabisa. Unatoshea makofi. Wacha upewe makofi kidogo. Zaidi ya makofi hapo ya huyu jamaa anaitwa Maro Mugesh. Kidhurai 45. Asante sana. Millicent Tirop, jambo. Good to see you, Millicent Tirop. Mpotea sana. Ansama Sydney, Australia tuko locked. Asante sana all the guys from the land down under in Australia. Good to see you this morning. Hope you're doing well. Salimia watu kama kina Sergeant hapo. Tafuta Sergeant hapo, mwambie nimesema natumiwa salamu ambassador. Just also tomorrow, good morning Gerald, live from Moi Avenue. Asante Edward Songo Sonkokrono. Good morning Team Tackle Mungu mbele. Asante Chantel Sharon Minayo Kayole tuko locked. Asante sana Chantel. Chantel pia is a new fan. Naona amepiga consistency kidogo, hiyo pia anatosha makofi. Haya, hapo makofi kidogo hapo Chantel Sharon Minayo. Haya. Naona Chaptap Kibiri hata ameamushwa na ameamuka. Anasema good morning bro. Gerald Bito, good morning. Good morning to you my sister. You know what do you dear Wilbaro? What do CHAPIA? Haya. Ina relele. Good morning Gerald Bito, tuko live from Kapseret Lemok. Umetoka kwa Tuoli. Ndio pale anasema Maruru Gesh na kuwa na Balozi Eric Meja. Anasema your destiny being discussed by owners of the country. Anyway, all I'm saying to do is speak my mind. Kenya is my country too, and it doesn't belong to the Kenyatas, the Mois, or the Odingas alone. I'm tired of 3 families sitting around a table and discussing my destiny as if I don't exist. I'm tired of 3 families determining the course of my grandparents' lives, the lives of my parents, and how they have the nerve to think they can determine how me and my daughter will be governed in the next 5 to 10 years or more. I'm taking charge of my destiny, so be it if I die fighting. So be it if I die fighting the dynasties. So be it. But what will I not do is to keep quiet. Eric Meja mamuka down asira. And when the people of Egypt went to Tahrir Square to force Mubarak to vacate the presidency, it was because they got tired of the devious plans of the Mubarak family. Talk was rife in Egypt after Mubarak dies, his son Gamal would take over. In Libya, Gaddafi was grooming his son Saif. In Lebanon, street protests lasted a year, kicked out son of former PM and Rafik Hariri as PM. Where dynasties have managed to rear their ugly heads and succeed is West, East and Southern Africa. In Togo, when the elder Hayadena died, his son Faure took over. In Gabon, when the Omar Bongo died, his son Hali took over. In Equatorial Guinea, the VP is the president's son. It's time we Africans woke up and stop this nonsense of worshipping these dynasties. I choose to follow the path of those Tunisians who chased away their president to Saudi Arabia via revolution. I choose to follow the path of Ukrainians who chased away their president to Russia and would prefer to be ruled by a comedian, an honest comedian. I've realized that most Kenyans are just way too comfortable in their tribal cocoons and their middle-class cocoons. Our poorest have resigned themselves to fate. It's a sad situation, but they are also the people are now learning of their history and what has always been kept from us. A silent majority is awakening, and these are the people who will change the course of this nation. There is this group which keep asking, if I knew Uhuru is bad, why then am I complaining? Why did I vote for him twice? Actually 4 times if you count 202. Well, my answer to you is that it's not like Raila Odinga was any better. If you ask me, I dare say is worse, but that is a debate for another day. Aya, naona maandiko ni mrefu, acha ndarudi kuangalia baadaye. Munga Olita continue all the way from the UK. Another morning team tackle tuning in from Coventry, United Kingdom. Good to be part of this morning's Diaspora edition. Asante sana ndugu yangu. Keja graphics all the way from Diaspora as well. Anasema good morning. Hiyo maneno ya watu wa Saudi wa sad. Very sad. Aya. Okay. Noma Ngatich anasema good morning, tuned in from Mweben. Asante sana Noma. Dennis Zaki, this is a good show, but it's wise also to everyone from different political side. No, wewe umeona watu huyu ni waenzi. Kini wewe Dennis piga makofi lakini pole. Haya, Willy Akuyi anasema hey, tafadhali angalianga wageni kwanza Deno. Angalianga wageni ambao wamekuja kwanza. Jana tulikuwa na mtu ANC peke yake. One man from ANC. Sasa wewe jameni, nenda kusaidia na nini? Kipkorir Ben anasema morning GB locked in for Muslims. Asante Giovin Paul. Good morning Pitok locked in for Mutawala. Asante Ronald C. Kipkorir anasema locked in from Chepsongoch Marakwet East. Asante sana tu Marakwet East. Abraham Chelanga hi Pitok. Good morning to you Abraham Chelanga. Good to see you. Na umepotea sana Abraham. Simu yako hatujaiona kwa muda lakini karibu tena, welcome back to the tackle. Sandra Paul ndani from Keringet. Asante sana Hilary K. Kiprop. Kavi itaisha after elections, mark my words. Ronnie Kiggs kijana wangu anasema good morning to you Tarbei Kibor Victor logged in from Wasingishu Mweben. Asante sana tu Mweben. Aska Mebur, another bull dance in Mombasa again. Wamerudi. Haya, PK Kimutai live and clear from undisclosed location. Sawa Katel. Matei Evans from Kitale, karibu tule mahindi for breakfast. Good show. Asante sana. Hiyo mahindi nitaikujia. Weekend nitakuwa hapo Kitale hapo. Nitengeneze mahindi nitakuwa hapo. Marnyar Junior live from Narok County show noma hii. Asante sana. Haya, karibuni wangwana. Chapia. How do you guys? Both of you guys, it's your first time on the tackle. Good morning.
Morning to you, baby.
You well?
I'm good. Na niko tayari to take it on.
The political nomad.
The political ideologies. I'm following the ideologies.
Unafuata ideolojia.
So in UDA, there is the way my ideologies and the Kenyans' aspirations are.
So uko ODM tena?
No.
Na shati wenyewe hujarudisha?
No.
Ama yeye ni hapo. Ama yeye si orange.
Yes, orange.
Karibu, good to see you, my brother.
Thank you very much.
You well?
I'm good, and I'm prepared to let Kenyans know.
You want to tackle this guy?
I wanted to tackle these guys to let Kenyans know why our choice should be UDA. Okay. And why our choice should remain Hustler Nation. In UDA, we are talking about hustlers. But in other coalitions, they are talking about the big people.
Ninyi mjaenda Mombasa?
No, we don't have to go to Mombasa. Or us, we are all in the country. The 47th country, the million Kenyans. So in UDA, we are talking about everybody from the grassroots. But for those who are going for seminars, workshop, they're just a clique of few guys or a few people who are going for those coalitions.
Okay.
But in UDA, we are for the people, by the people, with the people, with the Kenyans. That's why we are here.
Haya, I give you an opportunity as well to introduce yourself to the tech class. These guys are very serious Kenyans. Introduce yourself, maybe wewe ni mwanasiasa wapi, wewe ni nani asua kwanza. Chapia ni nani? Kwani uko na majina mbili kama inaitwa ni kuna nini na kwa na majina? Migona. Kama Migona.
My name is Gabriel Bokachi CHAPIA.
Okay.
AKA CHAPIA. I am a politician in this city of Nairobi. I started my politics in 2007 when I vied as a councillor. In 2013, I vied as a MP, Dagoretti North. In 2017, I vied as a senator for Nairobi County. I got the nomination ticket for NASA, but they defrauded me because they don't respect people. They defrauded me and they took away my certificate. So it is a collision coalition that we don't trust. It is a coalition of the sons of who is who. It is not a coalition of any Kenyans. Because they took away my certificate. They abused me. Some of them, they called me, I am a poor man. I've never been declared bankrupt in this republic. Nobody has ever taken me to court. So that is a coalition. I want to tell the young people and the people who are hustling, that is the coalition, not where we belong. The coalition of the people is the United Democratic Alliance, the hustler nation, the hustler narrative, whereby all of us, regardless of who is your mother or who is your father, we suppose you will be given an equal opportunity. I am a son of a retired primary school teacher, and I'm respected in UDA. So that is my political history. So I want to let all the young generation in this country to know, if you want a party that where you will be given equal opportunity without bothering you who is your parents, it is UDA. If you want a party where you will be given opportunity depending on who is your parent, dynasty, or the big men, then you go to other coalition. So we are the coalition of equals, the coalitions of young generation, the coalition of Mama Mbogas, the coalition of Mukokoteni, the coalition of Boda Boda. So Kenyans, UDA is the place to be, because I am in UDA and UDA is a national party. I am a typical Luya from Kakamega. All my generation, starting from my great grandfather, they are people from Kakamega. We are Luyas, but I have been given an equal opportunity in UDA. Last Sunday, I hosted the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, in Kawangware, in the slums of Kawangware. As a son of
CHAPIA. Akaita naibu wa rais.
A son of a retired primary school teacher. My father is known to nobody. But regardless of that, William Ruto did not ask me who is my father. When I invited William Ruto to come to Kawangware, he came and I hosted him. We were with him kule mashinani, tukazunguka Kawangware. The man did not despise the people of Kawangware. He understands the life of hustlers. Tuliruka mitaro za sewage na William Ruto Kawangware, tukakula mahindi na mandizi kwa Mama Mboga, akanunua mahindi na sukuma. So this is the man who understands the lives of everyone. So I'm telling the hustlers, let's join the United Democratic Alliance, because it is the party that everybody is accepted. If you go to other coalition, you will be asked who is your father. The man who took away my nomination certificate, his father was a former MP.
Who took your nomination certificate?
The current SG for ODM, Secretary General Bwana Sifuna. The father was a former MP, Lawrence Sifuna. So if you go to the other side and your father was nobody, you will be treated like trash. I am a living testimony. I was treated like trash. I was not regarded. They looked at me as a son of a retired primary school teacher, not as a son or not as a Kenyan. But in UDA, we tackle everyone on equal measures. We tackle our boss on equal measures. And it is in UDA, our boss will go for nomination if we will have any other presidential candidate. But in this other coalition, they are going for seminars, workshop, training, meeting after meeting to choose their presidential candidate. So they will choose their presidential candidate. It is the 7 people or 10 people who will do that. But in UDA, we will subject our boss, who is a good friend of mine, Dr. William Ruto, to nomination. And if he loses a nomination,
CHAPIA will take the flag bearer.
He promised us, if he loses that nomination, he will support the winner. So the party with equal opportunity for hustlers, Mama Mbogas, Boda Bodas, it is UDA.
Ndugu yangu.
Yes.
Habari yake?
Mzuri sana.
Orogo. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey, habari ya Naivasha?
Salama. We had a very good discussion in Naivasha.
Before you go to Naivasha, maybe you can introduce yourself to Kenya.
Let me introduce myself.
To Kenya.
My name is Daniel Orogo, and I am a former aspirant Kibra MP. I have served in civil society for some time. My area has been on political governance and doing political consultancy for political parties. Kwanzia hapo, mimi kama kuna watu wafaa waitwe mahasla ni watu kama sisi ndio tumehustle katika ile position yenye tumekuwa nazo. Bitok, let me say this. Let me begin by saying that it's too good to be true. That I don't want to discuss what happened in ODM, but I want to say that, you know, our political parties, there's been a problem in terms of, you know, issuing and assisting people to do an election that is transparent and that is accountable. You see, I think the only time we've had, if there is a party for everybody, Mama Mboga, you know, mtu wa mkokoteni, is way long when, you know, the world was struggling with communism. And you know what brought communism, the effects that we had. So I am saying kwamba haina ukweli. Hakuna ukweli mahali when we start speaking about, you know, the formation of UDA. For me, I think it looks more of a pyramid scheme that has got a sharp leadership, you know, on top, but down here there is a lot of people that no accountability is made. And with time, when a pyramid falls, you know, the people who at the sharp of the pyramid down are the people that are going to suffer. And I will put this into perspective as the time allows us. Let me say this, Bitok. The hustler versus dynasty narrative, I think, is a fallacy that we all must debunk. You know, we must begin to realize that in an economy, we need to know how we are facilitating and how we are, you know, sustaining an economy. Bitok. You have been here and you've been seeing different political pundits. Wanasemanga kwamba we need to have discussion about the tax regime. We need to see how to sustain our economy. We need to see how to put an economy back from effects of COVID-19. This you cannot just say by providing philanthropy. Hii naye nakata. This one I reject. Economy cannot be sustained by philanthropy, cannot be sustained by goodwill, by giving handouts. There is nowhere you can't sustain economy by doing that. However, I recognize kwamba each and every presidential candidate that we are having must have the agenda in terms of economic recovery. Any model that is sustainable must discuss on how do we work on our tax regime. How do we, you know, deal with issues of corruption? How do we deal with issues of economic recovery? If that is not discussed, then we are planning to sink the economy back, you know, into the vulgaries. But let me say this. Our presidential, you know, principles, and I've heard that CHAPIA amesema kwamba, you know, watu wako kwa seminar, you know, wako hapa discuss, wanakunywa chai and a cappuccino. Let me say this. You know, in a discussion of a presidential candidate, Bwana Bitok, there is a discussion at that level. Now, kila presidential and principles that are within one Kenya Alliance have decided that they are going for an election. And this is good for democracy. This is good for a discussion because everybody is jostling for a position. Everybody is putting his best effort forward. And it's not bad. CHAPIA, you are, you know, finding faults in principles on having a discussion in Naivasha. But I think your party leader is also having an ethnic discussion in his home. So I think we also need to put this into perspectives. While you condemn wengine kwamba, you know, they are moving up about in seminars, we must also ask you, why are you holding ethnic cocoons in your home? So I think we must have a discussion that is objective, Bitok. Na lazima pia tuseme kwamba as we move forward, and this is what I want to tell my party leader Penyako. And is working.
Akiwa Mombasa, usiseme Penyako. Sema akiwa Mombasa.
Akiwa Mombasa anywhere. You know, as a Mani National Congress, we must go to election. We must go to the ballot.
Whether they kidney or ndekni.
Whether you kidney or you ndekni, we must face the ballot. And as a principle, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi has stood out as a national leader. Wachana na wengine wenye, you know, are mobilizing ethnic cocoons to fill the numbers. Mudavadi has served as a nation. He's served as a principal, as a deputy prime minister, as a vice president, and as a finance minister. So when he talks about economic model recovery, all these presidential candidates wameiba. This is plagiarism. Talking about bottom-up approach.
But also as you speak out, so are you saying bottom-up approach belongs to Mudavadi? What is Mudavadi's economic model? Can you break it down?
Honorable Musala's economic model is very simple, you know, and we are taking you back to the time he took for when he was only 30s as a finance minister. He took the economy from back and restored it to the double digits that we have. I think that you know. As a way of dealing with, you know, tax, the pilferage that was taking place at KRA, he came with a measure to make sure that KRA was, you know, was honestly collecting taxes.
What was the measure?
You know, the measure was just to avoid pilferage.
How was it done?
That is what I'm saying. The moment he realizes that there were...
Because I realized all of you guys have stories.
The moment there were tax leakages within KRA, he decided to say that, you know, the tax collector who are the, you know, collecting tax must actually account before the finance and work together with the finance minister and produce, you know, the revenues that were collected in real time, because this had been a problem in real time. So I think for him, the economic model right now, Honorable Musalia Mudavadi is bringing, even as we discuss this philanthropy and bottom-up approach.
Which model?
The good thing that the model is, first of all, the leaders that are elected within the position. He identified that the problem that we are having
is
called bottom.
Our model is bottom up.
First of all, let's start with defining the model.
What I am saying.
CHAPIA, I'm the interviewer.
Yeah, he's the interviewer. You've realized that the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi has come up with Uchumi Bora, and that is, you know, kuokoa tax leakages and pilferage. He has designed his campaign agenda in 4 pillars. One is Uchumi Bora and one is Uongozi Bora. He begins by Uongozi Bora and saying that our problem has been in corruption. And those who are elected into these positions have decided to swindle public money. So first of all, to deal with that, he addresses chapter 6 begin. And this is where we have a problem with our principals and other partners. You know very well that is in this country, you mention one name about corruption is synonymous with somebody. You will mention it. But for all of us as a leader, as NNC, what we've said that even as before you elect a leader, make sure that the leaders with a track record, make sure that leaders that are past chapter 6 of the Constitution. And once they get in the leadership position, one of the agreements that they need to sign is on the wealth declaration, and that they do not have to pilfer public resources by, you know, engaging in corruption and racketeering. Once that is done, it is important to, you know, to have some economic model that deals with, you know, try to deal away with, we call it, you know, the restructuring within the institution of public governance, that we have money that is not unnecessarily spent, the monies that are channeled back to, you know, to the treasury, and much of it is accounted for. Lastly, Bitok, alisema kwamba, the thing that is bedeviling us in the fight against corruption is the fact that we have a number of multi-corruption agency. You have Kenya Anti-Corruption Commission, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. You have the Office of DCI. You have the there's so many. So the moment you realize that one is alleged to be involved in corruption, by the time they reach the courts, all these institutions that they have gone to has already watered out the evidence. So for him, his agenda is that once the report of the Auditor General is published and your office is mentioned to be involved, then the authorities picks it from there. There is no any other discussion of too much investigation. There's no any other things of, you know, running up and down. We deal with corruption there and then. And therefore, that provides for the discussion that we have. Hakuna
So tuende kwa uchumi. Uchumi bora.
really.
What are the pointers in uchumi bora? How do you plan to achieve uchumi bora?
I think the issue is just looking at the cadre of the working class. If you look at those who are employed within the civil servants, one of the things that he's dealing with, and I keep on mentioning, even as we work through the economic model, is that you realize that one, the public servants who are at the cadre of, you know, just at the entry level, the taxes are sometimes too much on them. And you realize that within the taxation model for especially people who are the junior public servants is a bit higher. So for him, the discussion is, could we try to reduce the tax that are levied on Kenyans who are, you know, struggling from nothing? Can we have at least reasonable tax discussion being discussed by people who are at the middle and a little bit at, you know, at the lower upper class? So in this, there's an introduction that once, people are taxed according, to what they earn, but also looking at a little bit of tax alleviation for those who are suffering, then we are able to build SMEs. We are able probably to provide for incentives of young people who are beginning, to open up businesses, young people who, are just borrowing to, to begin a business. And then also, we have a problem in this country that you realize that, the moment Mama Mboga hapa Kibera, there is so much tax that are levied even in the basic commodities. And see, this is our problem as a country. Once you lay heavily tax on, energy, you lay heavy tax on fuel, very heavy tax even on the milk and bread. How then would you expect, Mama Mbogas that we are talking about and Mkokoteni pushers that our colleagues from the other side are talking about? So the discussion is that how do we, make them a little bit something reasonable than the current regime that are levying serious heavy taxes on the lower cadre of the people who are really working and those who are doing mini jobs. So I think it's important. That is the discussion that we begin to shape, and that is where.
So it's about reducing taxes. Uchumi Bora is about reducing taxes.
It's about reducing.
So let me ask you, in your projection, how much do you think you will collect when government reduces taxes? Does it lose money or it collects money? Because the model in revenue collection for government is taxation. So when you reduce taxes, are you collecting money or you're losing money? So how much money do you intend to collect as a government by relieving people taxes? And also, how many Kenyans are not paying taxes as we speak, are not able to pay taxes?
That's why I've said, and you realized when we were giving out our economic model last week, in a hotel in Nairobi. The thing is, the experts are having a projection, a discussion. And I think it would be within the discussion within the party that we wait until the full manifesto is opened up. But now what I can say is that I can because callers here, we will give you the agenda.
I've called you.
We will
walk
with the manifesto next time here. But you realize, Bitok, even as we proceed in the discussion at that level, there is a very serious discussion on how we avoid just putting words on the air, but discussing on the real, tangible, how then would we have a formula. And as I've said, I'm not coming as a blank. What I'm saying is that even as we discuss on the projection, it was important that our experts are giving this, and this is what I'm saying, that as we continue to discuss, there is at least a provision that ours is not really based on words that are cast on the air. If you talk about Mama Mboga,
but you're not telling us about these things which are not cast in there. You don't have the formula yet.
If we are talked about Mama Mboga and Mkokoteni pushers, then I think it is important for us to tell them not to rely on philanthropy and not rely on handouts giving, but make sure that you tell them that you're participating in an economy, and the economy will require you to plow back for you to receive services and goods. And in that extent, you are not being, somebody is not ripping off from you. But even the little that we save, we are not taking away from what you have. But it's important to acknowledge that tomorrow you need services, you need health, you need transport, but in one way or the other, you must contribute and acknowledge, not empty hand.
Okay. Asante. We move a little bit because mambo ya uchumi ni kama inakanganya sana.
Let me say something about what my younger very quickly. First, my brother has said that UDA is a pyramid scheme, which is an offense, but I know he will apologize. A pyramid scheme is what they are doing in seminars, a group of 7 people. Okoa Kenya plus whoever, they are just 7. That is a pyramid scheme where they wanted to defraud Kenyans with the leadership. Then when we go to the second point, our definition of dynasty, if you read in the Bible or not in the dictionary, they know themselves. And Okoa Kenya are sons of the dynasty.
So read me the dynasty according to the scripture.
Let me finish. Yes. If you look at the lineup of Okoa Kenya, we know Raila Odinga was the son of the former Vice President Jaramogi Odinga. We know Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta is the son of the former President.
But you are seeking leadership, CHAPIA. Will your son not be entitled to leadership?
my son will be entitled to leadership and by struggling on his own in a hustler movement.
Okay.
So this is a people who, we call them a Cerelac coalition.
Yeah.
We know Gideon Moi is the son of the former president. And I want to ask anybody, who knows the father or the parents of William Ruto? This is a man who made himself. But these are the privileged sons who made themselves.
Okay.
Then number 3, my brother talked about the economy of Okoa, Kenya as uchumi bora. And my brother is insisting, and the uchumi bora is they will focus on taxation. In Kenya, the jobless people, there are around 15 million people are jobless.
17.
17
It's actually
million.
not 15.
So where will you tax them?
17.5. Yeah?
How will you tax the jobless people? Taxation is taxed from the people who are working.
Productive.
We are jobless. So their model will not work because we are overtaxed. The only people who are working are struggling. They will want to tax Mama Mboga. They will want to tax Mkokoteni, so they will kill this economy. The hustlers will be killed.
So there's nobody to tax.
There is nobody to tax.
Let's be
Nobody
very
to tax.
Economy.
But when you talk,
That's a minute. Just a second. Okay. To 5 seconds.
yeah, to 5 seconds in terms of economy. Uchumi bora, they want to tax people. We are overtaxed at the moment. At the moment, for example, for those who are in job group N, they are earning a gross salary of around 15,000. You are taxed 30%, pay as you earn.
No, they are saying they want to reduce that.
So if they reduce that further, they will destroy the government. The government will have no money to run. And a government without money to run, the country will be declared bankrupt. So Uchumi Bora will destroy this country. But bottom-up economy, where we will invest in these 17 jobless people.
To be able to pay taxes.
They'll be able to pay taxes because they will be working. They will have money. In our model of bottom-up economy, 100 million will be given to each constituency. 30 billion from the exchequer will boost this economy, plus CDF. So as we are investing in hustlers,
in the 17 million,
is the 17 million, so that we can have something to tax them to build the government. Them they are investing in reducing tax, yet the government we don't have money. We have overborrowed. Their government have overborrowed. We are unable to pay the money they have overborrowed, and they wanted to reduce the taxes. We will be declared bankrupt.
I think
They need to go back to the
I
drawing
think
board.
CHAPIA, the deputy president served as the deputy president for this time, I think, running up for 9 years. And this is a very, a show that is very reputable. And sometimes I think we speak the truth here.
Yeah. Not sometimes, every time.
Every time. We need to say that he's been the deputy president of Republic of Kenya. And he's the second principal assistant to the president. And by that, he sits at the presidency. So all these discussions about economic recovery, you cannot really say that there is something that you can do as the president, expected if you didn't do it for the 9 years you were the deputy president. Let me say that Honorable Musalia Mudavadi and, OCA principals, the rest had not been in the Jubilee government. They were not in Jubilee government. And so fingers cannot be pointed to the two principals. They were part of the NASA coalition, has been part of the opposition government. And therefore, their invitation to participate on government is purely on the national reconciliation agenda and on the national reconstruction agenda. So this is why I'm saying, CHAPIA, that once we see it's important to say that as a person who served as the deputy president caliber cannot promise to do what he didn't do, when he was 9 years the deputy president. Also, let me say this, that we're also confusing, ourselves. When I say that if you want to look at the cadre of people that are working, again I say that once you decide to bring up to an economy bottom down, the bottom up or bottom down approach, the one you're talking about. No economy is sustained by philanthropy. CHAPIA, I'm saying this from a perspective.
But you're not telling us how the economy is sustained.
A perspective of knowledge, CHAPIA. Do you know why? Because the 17.5 is not 17, but 17.5 you're mentioning must participate in the economic reconstruction. You cannot say that you're bringing, you may not overtax them. taxation, what we've been seeing in this country is that, the level of taxation in this country has been taken to be very brutal. It's more of a punishment because we understand the citizenry of Republic of Kenya have for a long time paying taxes without services, and therefore the moment you mention about tax, to them it seems to be so brutal. But even if you look at the developed and developing countries, in Scandinavian countries, there is levying of taxes, especially on commodities. But the government is reasonable to them, telling them that the moment you participate in economic building, the services are at your doorstep. Why am I saying this? Because we are all here. How many times have we been told that how much do we lose to corruption daily, running into billions? Do you know the value of billions, Bitok? When we go down there in Kapsaret and anywhere, tell that person about the value of billions in terms of how many cows, in terms of how many acres of land. Translate that. That is when we will know the value of these billions we're always talking about, that you are being told is always lost each and every day. So for us, and what Mheshimiwa Mudavadi is talking about, this pilferage of billions per day that is lost, what is the value of this in building an economy?
But the question is, Roger, I want to take you back a bit. You're telling us how the economy is not sustained, but you're not telling us how it is sustained. You've admitted that 17.5 million Kenyans are not paying taxes. That's quite a number. There's only two ways, in my own knowledge. I'm not an economist, but I think there are only two ways the government can raise money. You're either collecting taxes or you're borrowing. So if you're reducing taxes, you want to borrow more. Or how are you going to build your economy? How is the government going to run?
Of course. That's what I'm saying, is that, for the 17 billion, the working that we are discussing about, the
17.5 are not working.
17.5
are not working. They are not productive. They are not paying taxes.
I don't know what kind of figures. I don't know what kind of figures,
But you're not who gave us the figures.
No, he said
15 and you increased to 17.5.
So the 17.5, the projection that is coming here that are not working. There is a discussion on how then would we, absorb those who are not working into the mainstream economy. The absorption is, and this is why I'm telling you, as we discuss to launch the manifesto.
So we wait for the manifesto.
We discuss,
I think it's only fair.
Yeah, we are not allowed to diverge much of this, because once it's in the public and it's published, we are allowed to debate about it. But as the projection that is coming on board, one is that those who are not working and those who are projecting to be absorbed into the economy, remember what we said here, that the Institute of Higher Education Learning, if there is one, has projected that each and every year over 800,000 young people are graduating from tertiary institution that cannot be absorbed into the mainstream. So the urge is that, okay, fine, are there opportunities even in the in medium and small business? Are there economic in other Juakali sector that can consume these? And therefore, how long then would we begin to make sure that we cushion them from the effect of higher taxes?
So we'll agree that as we speak, we don't have a formula.
The transition is, there is a projection of the formula, but then we do not have to throw words here.
Because has to move from that. Because it's important as well for us to give Kenyans a meaningful conversation. Let's move on from that.
Right of reply.
What is the right of reply?
My right of reply, I want to tell Kenyans, and to be very clear, on the side of our core, they are still doing manifesto. So so far they have got no plan. On the side of UDA, we already have our plan, and our plan is working. Our plan is very clear, bottom-up economic model. That is number one. My brother also talks about corruption. In this country, we know who are the KEMSA billionaires. And the president promised after 21 days he will deal with KEMSA billionaires.
But the president is not in Oka, or he is there?
He's part of Oka because he's their chief prefect. So up to now, we are still waiting. They have not been taken anybody to court. The president himself declared we are losing 2 billion a day. He's the man in charge. Where is this money going? Finally.
Tusonge CHAPIA. Tusonge kwa mambo ya uchumi. Nimeona mambo ya uchumi ni ngumu.
Finally, my brother. Finally, I beg.
Okay, please.
For
2
30
seconds. No, 30 seconds. Yes. 10 seconds.
Finally, our model of we wanted to create jobs for 17.5 million Kenyans who are jobless with the Big Four agenda. But when they joined the government through the back door, through the confusion of the handshake, they confused everything in the government. Then we lost the focus. We wasted 4 years on BPI. Yet we wanted to have Big Four agenda to create employment for 11 million Kenyans to be taxed.
Okay.
So I want Kenyans to know the OKOA, they are still on manifesto, and the UDA, we are already implementing how the 17.5 jobless Kenyans will get jobs. So as a Kenyan, choose where to belong, where you will belong in workshop and seminars to plan a manifesto, while as we are practically, we have started doing projects with the Mama Boga, they are working. We are doing project with the Boda Boda. So Kenyans, be wise. Don't be fooled. We went to school. Asante.
Haya, asante. Tusonge. The President Uhuru Kenyatta has an extended wachana mambo ya uchumi. Wewe nimekuambia umesema tungoje manifesto. When is the manifesto?
We will I think in 2 weeks time we're going to have
So I invite you in 2 weeks to come with the
manifesto, and we will discuss the nitty-gritties about the economic recovery with figures not flouted.
So is it manifesto for Musalia or for Oka or for now Musalia and Raila? Or where the manifesto coming from?
I don't know where Raila is coming, but I am speaking on behalf of
Musalia, whatever.
I am speaking
because they're getting into a coalition.
Yes, there is a discussion about economic recovery, and there's a discussion
within
about
Oka
manifesto.
or
I am speaking for ANC.
Musalia.
Yes,
Okay.
and that is a discussion that is there. Because we do not want to dwell in this, allow me to say talk.
Yes.
If you had served the government for 9 years and you did not actually participate on that economic recovery, there is no way you can. What really changed that you can now tell us, that you have a formula.
You have changed.
You have changed that you now have a formula to save Kenyans.
Okay.
So I think it is important for us also to avoid this hypocrisy. If I could have time,
I wish there was an alternative.
Demystify.
The reason why I
yes.
bring you guys,
Yes.
two people, is so that Kenyans can have an alternative.
Yes.
But you guys are not giving us an alternative. You're not giving an alternative. So that's why I prefer for us to move away from the economy until ANC is ready with this manifesto. That is fair to Kenya.
No, we there's no problem. We
I
can
think that
come
is
to
fair. So that we
touch
just
upon
don't
this.
end up attacking
Yes.
one narrative and you're not giving an alternative.
But let Kenyans
Yes.
know
No.
we
CHAPIA.
have bottom-up economy.
No, ndio nimesema wewe tayari uko nago, wacha tungoje huyu jamaa lete in 2 weeks.
They will never
I love the
have.
don't worry.
It will be concrete. The discussion will be very concrete.
That's what I'm saying. We'll
the
appreciate
project. Yes.
when we have both of them. You'll come with your concrete manifesto. You will come with this concrete in the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
So that
Call us
Kenyans,
here again. Yeah, call us here again.
I
and
will.
then we,
The two of you, just the way you are.
Yes.
I'll call you in 2 weeks time.
Yes.
I'll need the two of you. You'll come with the manifesto for either Oka Kenya or ANC. You'll come with alliance. Is it today? You do.
Economy.
So that
and written.
Yes.
And written.
no problem.
Yes.
So you'll also come with
Yes.
this written manifesto.
And we'll
You'll
come with our written,
the
yes.
economy. Let's focus on the economic model, corruption, and the issues to do with health and all that. Let's
Yes.
bring that in
Yes.
perspective,
Yes.
so that we have a conversation that is constructive to Kenyans. Because I don't want us to haggle too much.
Yeah,
and
we
are not
will
giving
look
back.
at corruption. We look at economic. We even look at leadership and integrity. Because all these are hallmarks to
Perfect.
to-
In 2 weeks' time.
Yes.
So, Taklas, in 2 weeks' time, I'm bringing you two guys to come and give us their manifestos, so that you can have an opportunity to choose from what you think fits you best. Until then, we move. Uhuru Kenyatta extended the curfew for 60 days, and you're here talking about the economy of Kenyans. 17.5 million Kenyans who are unproductive, and it keeps going as much as we keep. Businesses are collapsing. People are not making money. We're all feeling the heat, and we're feeling the press and all that. But the question is, President Uhuru Kenyatta seems to be out of touch with what is going on with the common man. That's my own opinion. As a citizen of this country who does business and trades, and is a citizen, I feel like he's not in touch with what he's going through. I don't know what you guys feel with the extension.
Let me pick it first. The extension of the curfew was declared yesterday by the courts to be illegal.
Really?
Yesterday was declared by the courts to be illegal. And the petitioner was taken into court by the Law Society of Kenya. So according to the rulings that was made yesterday, the government, through the Inspector General of the Police, has been barred from attacking any group of people, and the court declared those curfews as unconstitutional.
Okay.
So from the court's point of view, according to the court, it is unconstitutional. And there is no law that forces the president or the inspector general of police to implement the orders from the president. That is number one. Number two, if the president has opened the matatus, the matatus are back to full capacity. All other things are doing at a full capacity. For example, for those people who go maybe to restaurants, maybe to the bus, we are going there for the full capacity. So we want the president to open our economy so that the people can raise money. We are poor because our economy is blocked. And the issue of curfew for extended for 16 days is not the solution. The solution is the government to provide vaccines and to vaccinate all Kenyans. So, Mr. President, focus on vaccinating Kenyans and let us work. We depend on this economy. We have got no any other alternative. So solution one, the government should provide vaccination. And the government should open, anybody should be able to bring vaccination in this country. At the moment, the government does not allow private investors or private hospitals to import vaccination in this country. The government is limiting importation of vaccination and controlling how the vaccines will be brought to the country. So, Mr. President, open this country by opening, let anyone who wants to import the vaccines so that at this moment, almost most Kenyans, let us be vaccinated and go back to work because we need to feed our children. Our children depends on our juakali. Our children depend on the people who work in bars and restaurants. Our economy depends on that. So, Mr. President, the curfew you have extended to us as wananchi of this republic, it is hitting on us. It is unfair because you have provided, you are blocking us from working and you are not giving us the solution. At the moment, in the first world countries like America, you find that at least they are vaccinated around, by yesterday, in the US, people around 40% of Americans are vaccinated. In Kenya, as we speak today, less than 3% of our population is vaccinated. So let the government focus on vaccinating us and let us work. We depend on this and we want to work. Because the country, if we look at the debt limit of this country, the country has overborrowed. There is no money in this economy. So when you extend the curfew, you are killing us more. Let us work to feed our children. Parents are not able to pay school fees. We are not able to pay rent. We are not able even to have 3 meals a day. Because you have blocked us from working. Give us opportunity to work, but do the role of the constitution you saw to protect all Kenyans by ensuring we are all vaccinated.
My brother Orogo.
Well, I think each and every executive decision, Bitok, is informed by experts' advice. And the President of Republic of Kenya, in his wisdom, consult widely on the directive that is given by the Minister of Health. And I think when he decides that he's extending curfew and other containment measures for 60 days, that might have been informed by the directive from experts at the Ministry of Health. One, also allow me to take a caveat and say that and again, we are discussing Kenyan economic turmoil. And the measures that we are talking about, then how would we try to recover post-COVID-19? And once again, I am a proponent that people's health are very important, Bitok. When I was just getting through here, one of the signages that I saw, which is very nice, is like, put on your mask, as you get to this place. It is important for us as citizens that we understand the responsibilities that we are having, that besides the government always prefecting our conduct, you have seen that in our hospitals, Bitok, there is a claim that people have run out of oxygen. Facilities are full. And by effect, we others are still living a life and are lowering the guard, and the Delta virus is hitting to the rock bottom. I think we are all aware that there is another wave that we are dealing with. But of course, the country needs to be run. Economy needs to keep going. So one of the things that I agree with, my brothers from the other side is we actually needs to keep the economy going, but taking measures that would safeguard the lives of Kenyans. The only super spreader that we have is our politicians.
But the president sits with them every day.
And let us also say this.
William Ruto was in Kangware, Raila Odinga was in Nakuru. Today they are in Mombasa with Uhuru. Why can he not tell him not to do this?
Yes, and
why is it that Kenyans are being punished?
And this I speak from a point of honesty, brother, that when it comes to containment measures, we are double speaking. And this is something we also need to address to our political leaders, irrespective of the divide. You know, sometimes we put away our political affiliations, but now deal with the
That's
reality.
what I want us to do.
Deal with the realities of how things are. The moment you tell Kenyans to sanitize, wear face mask, and keep safe and social distance, but the next moment we are in rallies, I think it's not really well. It's not really well with this country, because after that, then we are going to lose the same Kenyans. Who will we govern? Who will we have a decision to rule over if we are exposing them to conditions that will make them lose their lives? So that is the first thing, is that the political class, including our leaders here, CHAPIA, this we have to agree that if we are talking to our leaders, you go back as you talk to your party leader, tell them, you don't hustle with people's life. You tell them the importance of respecting the sanctity of life when it comes to COVID-19. The same to us. We go back to ANC, we talk to the party leader, even as much as we are looking for clout, but the lives of our fellow citizens are important. And my party leader listens. He would definitely, listen to the directive that we are advising to do. And thirdly, Bwana Bitok, the issue about vaccination. We are struggling to still vaccinate
Even
Kenyans.
as you go to vaccination, Orogo, what is the sincerity in the presidential directive? Where is the sincerity? Do you think there's any sincerity in the interest of Kenyans?
I think one of the things that I fault the President of the Republic of Kenya has been that his directives has no longer been intact. He says one thing, the other times is being violated, and he does nothing about it. The day I saw our dear beloved President throwing arms in the air and saying, what can I do? Mnataka nifanye nini? That is the same day I almost lost hope in this country. When the President in each and every public holiday announces the austerity measures with corruption, the next moment it hits a super speed. He does nothing. The same to COVID-19 regulations. He's telling political leaders not to hold rallies, but what do you see the next day? So I think the president, in his sincerity as a father figure of the nation, is important for him to safeguard the interests of the people he leads by being honest on the declaration, by being honest on the decisions he make and directives he make. I think let this go to him as he watches us. It is important, President Uhuru Kenyatta, that once you make a declaration, let that declaration stay. Make it an executive order that COVID-19 needs to be regulated. But for vaccines, Bwana Bitok,
Yes, sir.
The nationalism about vaccine is still something that is killing us as a country. And I think President has talked about it. What is difficult? We have institutions of research in this country. We have institutions of higher health and academic excellence that have been, came here. We designed, we were the guys who pioneered Oxford AstraZeneca in this country, Bitok. Why has it become a problem for all of us to liberalize vaccination? Why has to go to fly out of the country? Then the value addition, it comes back at an expensive cost. The procurement structures are a little bit, bureaucratic, and then many citizens end up not being vaccinated. Even as we develop, I think it's important for us to fast track the vaccination of the people so that these measures of COVID-19 and lockdowns and containment measures should just be dealt away. I think this is one thing that we all agree that is important for us to make, talk about this objectively.
But also, gentlemen, isn't it so sad that 2 years down the line, well, other countries have moved on and they've actually devised ways of living with the disease, because it's not going anywhere. If it's been here with us 2 years already, it keeps changing. The name's changing. Next time we'll have maybe a CHAPIA variant, or OROGO variant. I mean, it keeps moving. It keeps mutating. And while other countries have already mechanized themselves and invented and innovated around it and learned to say, we are a country, we must have to keep going. Now, 2 years down the line, we're still applying the same tactics that we applied at the beginning. Curfews and all these restriction of movement things, which has not worked. As we're speaking, we're still having the disease. It keeps moving. I mean, does that not bother you as a citizen?
I am...
That 2 years down the line,
yes.
I mean, when you pick other countries that talk about percentage of vaccination, talking about, I mean, in Australia, people are saying you can mask off and you can continue with life. Yes. When this is a case, we react to a case.
English
and fix
Premier
it.
League has just resumed.
People are full in stadiums.
Yeah.
But here in Kenya, they're telling you should not be moving around by 10 p.m. as if COVID-19 is a witch.
Yes.
That runs at night.
I think the main problem here is the management and the leadership, and I take it back to executive. In our constitution of Kenya, health was devolved, but when the budget was read, the 3-point-something trillion budget was read. 70% of this money remain at the Ministry of Health at the national level. Yeah. Yet the health is a devolved function. Yeah. At the county level, there is no money even to buy what is required. But at the national level, where they remain with the junk of health, all that money is stolen. For example, there was money that was stolen from the Ministry of Health. They bought some equipment and dumped them at the county hospitals. Up to today, some hospitals or some county hospitals, they are not they're not using those equipment. Okay. Number two, the government is unfair to our health workers. Why is the government importing doctors from wherever? And yet we have unemployed doctors. Okay. So the government of the day is not interested in our doctors. Our doctors are jobless. Our doctors are always on the streets. Our nurses are always on the streets. So what I want to say is that we will continue suffering until we change the style. And the only way to change this style, if you look in the manifesto, of the UDA, we have a health scheme where we say that the priority, we will fully devolve the health to the county government. Yet in this current system, the 70% of the health budget is at the national level. So there is so the government is contradicting itself. And we know the people who stole the money. They bought containers for 10 billion, 100 containers. We know them. We know they are cousins. We know they are cousins of the people in the executive. And that is why my brother cannot talk about it.
You will talk about it.
Some of the people who are involved are part in his party. They are relatives of the leaders of their party. Okay. So the Kenyans need to know the Ministry of Health is corrupt. And the people who have corrupted the Ministry of Health, we know them. And because they are part of the dynasties, they have not been taken to court. So to solve our solution, we must end corruption in the Ministry of Health. And the people who stole the PPI, people who are working in the KEMSA to be given a tender of 350 million, they must go to court. So, Mr. President, you promised us after 21 days, you will take these people to court. It is almost 1.5 years. What happened, Mr. President?
Well, when it comes to corruption, Bitok, we are playing double standards. I agree from both of the sides because it squarely lays on the door of the president to crack the whip. I am very happy when you asked a question about what is the seriousness of presidential declarations. And it's the same thing I am going back to, that the fight and declaration against corruption did not begin by KEMSA. The president had been out calling upon people who are corrupt, even within his regime. And corruption, CHAPIA, began in his regime in 2013. So I agree with you that even as we knock doors and bang doors and call for accountability, we are it's important to fast track the COVID-19 billionaires. But at the same time, do not forget those who are involved in other corruption issues. Aurora and Kimwarer and the rest of the things must be brought to book. Everybody who is looting this country in different mega corruption scandals. Alipie, you know, Aurora and Kimwarer. So it is important.
No, wait.
Even as we...
You was quiet when you spoke.
Yeah, I was really listening to you. It is important that we must... This is something you must help us to talk about and air. We have institutions that are involved in fast-tracking corruption cases. My goodness, what is happening at DCA? What is happening at EACC? they're also part and parcel of conspirators of people, because cases are not watertight. Cases are not properly investigated. They reach the corridors of justice, technicalities out of lack of sufficient evidence. So I think we as a country, I think it's important to retrospectively give ourselves a time of conversation. What really happens that we need to tackle corruption to this, everything that has been going on in this country. So it's important. And this is once I said that sometimes I think we need to take a fresh air and a breather and look at all these leaders who are posting and posturing for presidential candidate in 2022.
Yes.
Then it's important to have a weighing scale in order of, factors that we will take. Integrity chapter, those were involved in corruption before. Deliverance, their responsibilities, their manifesto, their experiences. So I think as we will be coming back, there is important that we have a very honest conversation about dealing with corruption in this country.
Okay, all right. Let's move to...
One minute, I wanted to clarify
1 minute is a lot of time. So you need 5 seconds.
10 seconds.
5 seconds.
He has misled Kenyans. So I want to rectify it. Aror and Kimwarer, the action was taken. The minister who was in charge of finance was relieved his duty and taken to court. And the case is in the court going on. But the KEMSA, there is nobody who is in court. So what I want people to know is that there is selective justice. For Aurora and Kimure, people were relieved their duties. The minister was relieved. He is now in court. What happened to KEMSA? What happened to the people who are stealing 2 billion daily, according to Mr. President? So we want everybody, all Kenyans to be accounted, not selective accounting. So I want to tell Kenyans, the people who stole for KEMSA, none of them up to today has been taken to court.
CHAPIA.
The 2 billion, Mr. President
CHAPIA,
said
you're not updated. The owners of killing contractors are actually being investigated.
It is my time. I'm
Yeah.
saying to court,
Okay.
investigation can take 100 years. So I want people to understand, in this country there is selective justice. Anybody who belongs or anybody who perceived to be supporting William Ruto, you will be taken to court and your investigation will take 2 days or in 1 week. But anybody who is corrupt and is in the regime, the investigation will take years to come. So let us have, the solution is, let us treat all Kenyans equally.
Let's treat all corrupt people equally.
Not selective. Not selective.
Let's do that. Okay, tomorrow we're having the BBI ruling in an open court. And I don't know, are you guys warming up for the return of BBI or the death of BBI? I don't know what the feeling is as well across the political divide. That people who are still, are you still also in the right timelines for a referendum? We are a few months from elections, and there seems that the conversation has changed. The people who are talking about BBI are not talking about 2022. The conversation has changed the political landscape as well. So it keeps you wondering, are we still on course? What should you expect tomorrow from this side? I'll start with you, OROGO. What do you expect from the rulings tomorrow?
I think without really not discussing the merits, I think we are not allowed to.
Of course, we are not discussing the merits and the merits.
Sub judice issues. But we can talk about the advantages of what we have, where we put right now. One, the Constitution do not really allow a referendum 1 year to a general election. So all the prospects of having a referendum before 2022 constitutionally and legally is not tenable. And I think the court in its wisdom would consider that even though there were provisions that are within the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020, it is important not to throw the baby with the bathwater. So I think the court, again, in its wisdom, will look at what are the merit, what do the bill brings that are good and beneficial to Kenyans. One, I'm for the proponent that as a leadership of this country, and for us to recognize that we've has an election that will always degenerating into violence. It is important for us to have a discussion on how then would we absorb, electoral violence and election tension for the sake of the national unity and our principles. We can definitely agree in the wake of the handshake. every political leader across divide congratulated the two leaders for reaching out and shaking each other's hands, including the deputy president, through a tweet acknowledges that is important, that the two leaders have reached out to one another and have shaken hands and the country is moving forward. Later, what happened, I don't know, but the president, at Bomas explained, how he has been briefing the deputy each and every time, and he acknowledged he's been briefed. So that is also one will take place. I see the court, I am not able to, but the court, when it comes to referendum, the court might consider the constitutional provision that is not tenable. However, the court will advise the country on how then would we reap on the gains that were in the documents that are beneficial to Kenyans. So therefore, I foresee that the court can advise the parliament, both houses, to fast track what is achievable within the document and maybe pass it through the parliamentary system, discuss it through the parliament. And if a consensus is reached, then some of the amendments can be done by our gentlemen, our honorable leaders, in, honestly, from a point of objectivity in the parliament. The other thing I foresee is that, because if you looked at the High Court decision, there were a number of rulings that we can touch on, little few because of time. The court also in wisdom looked at the role IBC played about the virtual constituencies be talk. You realize that the 70 new virtual constituencies, it is purely the work of IBC. It was not purely the work of technical committee. So I think the court will also might affirm the decision by the High Court that you see this squarely lays on the IBC and not the technical committee. And therefore now the IBC is already constituted. We have now commissioners. We have the commissioners. The commissioners that is now constituted. The IBC can do that. It's not the work of technical committee to actually look at the virtual constituencies. Now the most point of contention is here. The President of the Republic of Kenya as a proponent, as an initiator of BBI. This is where now the catch is. Because would the court, because I see the court will still have to interpret if this was initiated by Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta or President Uhuru Kenyatta as the President of Republic of Kenya. And therefore that was a conflict of interest in the office and the position he serves. So I think the court will also, provide its own interpretations when it deals with, the issues of Uhuru Kenyatta or His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta as an initiator of Building Bridges initiative. Finally, I think it's important that as a coalition, we already discussed about and agreed in Naivasha meeting that however the ruling of the Court of Appeal as a party that appreciates the rule of law, as a party that recognizes the independence of judiciary, we will accept the ruling of the Court of Appeal.
That is the voice of ANC.
That is the voice of ANC.
All right. CHAPIA.
Yes.
Unatarajia nini kesho? What do you expect tomorrow?
Tomorrow, or what we expect, I am expecting the judges to follow the law. And I'm expecting the judges to follow the Constitution of Kenya. And if I base the judgment, the judges...
Your phone, CHAPIA. Waka silent. Ama tuitupe nje.
Ni expensive. So I am expecting the judges to follow the rule of law. Basing on the issues that the judges at the High Court of Appeal, those one I can discuss. Basing on those issues, the 17 questions that was asked and the 26 rulings that were made, then the BBI tomorrow we are expecting the same. So in my opinion, they will uphold the ruling that was done at the High Court. Maybe just to interpret to Kenyans who might have forgotten some of the rulings that some of the issues that were discussed or on the ruling at the High Court level. One of them was about the process was illegality. Because when this process was started, it was started by two people. And yet the constitutional process is supposed to be started by Kenyans. So the two people had no mandate to start the process of constitutional review. And that is why they said the president, in his private capacity as a Kenyan, he has got no right to start the constitutional review, saying that it was the process for the people. It is us, the Kenyans, to start. So if the process was illegal and the court verified the entire process was illegal, I believe in the tomorrow's ruling that one will be upheld. Another area that I want Kenyans to know, and as I correct my brother, my brother has said that ANC is ready to accept the ruling that will be done tomorrow. Yet the same ANC and the OKOA or the OKA things, they are waiting for the ruling so that they can distribute positions. So I want Kenyans to understand this. What the ANC or the OKOA, and yet we know the person who has saved this world is Jesus Christ. Tumeokolewa na Yesu. So this, I want Kenyans to know this. So I want Kenyans to know this. These confusing OKOA things, they are waiting to share positions. And they are holding horses, praying that the BBI should pass so that they can distribute position to the big seven. So I want Kenyans to know that as we are waiting to reduce the economy of this country, the OKOA or the fake OKOA team wants this BBI to pass. But according to the judges of the High Court, they said that this BBI, when the process is illegal, there is nothing that is supposed to pass.
The result is also illegal.
Illegal. So I am praying and hoping our honorable judges tomorrow, they will stand up and save this country from further suffering. The BBI, according to them, it will increase the executive. The BBI has got nothing to do with the local mwananchi.
I don't think Mudavadi is supporting it because he wants to save money from the economy.
Yes.
I don't.
Supporting it. So,
He's not.
The people of Kenya, it is my time. Let me finish. The people
I
of
thought
Kenya,
you were finished.
No.
Let finish in 1 minute.
Let me finish. The people of Kenya, the BBI is talking about the big seven. It is only the BBI wants to create position for few. They want to create position for president. They want to create position for deputy president and the prime ministers and deputy prime ministers. So the people of Kenya, we are not in that. So the people of Kenya, let us come together as hustlers and come up with their constitution changes that will implement changes directly to us as hustlers. And this one can only be achieved if we join Hustler Nation and move
So, your 1 minute.
My 1 minute is, Bitok, if you really carefully, let me also correct my brother here and update him. If you really look at the provisions that were provided by the amendment bill, it's constitutional, it's policy, and it's also administrative. And some of the problems we always face in this country is that the moment you mention BBI, people just think about having a referendum and changing the executive structure of the leadership. That is absolutely wrong. I mean, for us, and I said, in the spirit of the Building Bridges initiative and in the spirit of amending the constitution, the principles of the proponents are acknowledging the historical issues we've always had with the electoral politics. And even, His Excellency, William Ruto, to some level acknowledges that indeed we need to have an open conversation about BBI.
But the people having a conversation are also fighting, even now.
In his acknowledgement, actually, in his acknowledgement, the deputy president said, fine, there is a need always to amend the... And it's constitutional. After each and every 10 years to discuss about constitutional amendment. It is within the constitution. So I think the most important thing, and CHAPIA, there is no two way. When the principals at Naivasha declare that they will support the ruling, they will support the ruling. There is no any other way. So for us as a coalition, what are we focusing on? We are focusing on affirming the independence of judiciary in making a decision. That is part and parcel of ANC constitution, and that is the principles within the constitution, that there is need. We are based on the rule of law, acknowledgement of diversities of this country, even way before, BBI thing, because that is what is in the constitution. So for us to acknowledge that it was important to support the amendment was purely because that is what is provided within our legal requirements. Now, when it comes to sharing of positions or not,
even the opponents of, BBI, to some level, you hear that once they are cornered to explain their position, they will tell you, we have neither supported it or opposed it. So to the extent that people are asking, then where are you? What is your agenda? Well, if you don't support it, some of them did not even submit their proposal in the hearing, Bitok. You told us to be very honest.
Yes.
Nobody from that end submitted, because it could be a very, very objective to discuss and begin to thrash a document based on your submissions that you made in the hearing. But then you trashed the process. You didn't believe on it. And then you complain about the stages that the process are taking. And this is why I say it is very hypocritical in our political class. Very hypocritical that we
finish in 9 minutes.
Oppose and then we don't have an alternative.
Okay, we finish in 9 minutes. Now, the issues of coalescing, and first of all, very quickly, I'll start with you, Orogo. Today in the dailies, when Oka was in Naivasha, they say that they're going to field their own presidential candidate and they're not going to get into any coalition talks with ODM or Raila Odinga. Jubilee and ODM formed a coalition. I think it's called to be Odili or Odili or what. No, anyway, we are waiting to see what they're going to come up with. But again, it seems very clear where the coalition talks are going. But now it's interesting because last week, or this week, actually, in Naivasha, One Kenya Alliance declared that they're going to have their own presidential candidate and they were not going to get into more coalition talks with either ODM or Raila Odinga. But now we are seeing again, they're in Mombasa, all of them, including Raila. The president has summoned them again for another time. And the papers are saying that Uhuru has finally managed to push the One Kenya Alliance gentlemen towards to support Raila Odinga. The more things change, the more they remain the same. Are we seeing another rebirth of NASA with a different name?
Well, I think the coalition talks to this level is elusive. Let me say this from an objective point of view. The discussion in Mombasa was purely based on a formula of arriving at a presidential flag bearer for One Kenya Alliance, and in the position of ANC, let me say that there is a recognition, there is an appreciation that there is a discussion going on about synergizing the efforts and working together. And I will tell you for free, and probably as a caveat, we will also ask Uda why they are not allowing other political parties,
That's why we're adding to
political. But since he's here, he will clarify. But on
Uda is here.
On our end, we are recognizing that building a national reconciliation agenda requires the input of national leaders who are of goodwill. And it's important to reach out to other leaders. One, for the purposes of having a diversity discussion and a representation from across board, discussing the needs that Kenyans actually have as people move forward to 2022. That discussion should shape towards a pro-people discussion. And I think that is where there's a discussion about principles converging. Now, as an ANC member, I am very critical on alliances that are pushed to people's throat. And this is, I say, with fear of no contradiction. We have said that as we are concerned right now, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi is going to the ballot as a presidential candidate.
So what will happen to you if Musalia decides to support Raila? Will you leave NC?
No, I think at that level, then that discussion will be brought at the NDC, Bitok. I think Musalia, as in the spirit of constitutionalism and also respect of the party structures, would not declare that by a state house, gardens, and say that he is making. I think for that discussion to be done for each and every party, that has to be brought through the party organs. And I think at that level, there will be a conversation as to what and how that choice is informed. But as we currently speak, and as we were at the party discussion and discussing on the technical team, right now as we speak, whether it's OCA or ANC, the discussion is the principles that are within One Kenya Alliance are fit to run for a presidential candidate. That none of them None. Let me say this on record.
Yeah.
None of these people, mtu atoke mali aseme nani needs to support me. None of the principals are going to be pushed to support and play the second fiddle of any presidential candidate. Anybody who is coming in a coalition is coming as an equal partner. We are all starting from a level of equality. Ikuwe ni Wetangula, ikuwe ni Gideon Moi, ikuwe ni Kalonzo, and if Raila is coming on board,
he's also coming as an equal partner.
He is coming as an equal partner because the discussion is beginning at that level. Yes,
now,
that
Kalonzo
is the stand.
Mudavadi, who is your party leader, has insisted severally that he's not going to work with Raila Odinga again. He says because of mistrust issues. Kalonzo Musyoka amesema heri mninyonge ulikuwa rudi kwa baba. Wetangula has been quiet. He's not been saying much. But now we're seeing the same activity turning back. The wheel is turning back to where they're saying they're not going to go. And I would want to wonder, since you're in Oka, what is the role of President Uhuru Kenyatta in One Kenya land?
I think the role of president has been, one who recognizes that, there is a need to build a national cohesion. And therefore the leaders that he's called on board, and those is the word is like-mindedness. He's said that...
But these guys are not like-minded.
Even as...
Kalonzo is disagreeing, Mudavadi is disagreeing with Raila. Where is the like-mindedness?
I think the like-minded is that there's a need to have a coalition that works on a formula of national reconciliation, that identifies the need for all leaders to put aside the personal differences for behalf of this country. That is the catchy word. All other interests that they're having, I think they are caught into, this snare of, delivering a coalition that are pro-people, a coalition that seeks to perform on a national reconciliation, a coalition that identifies that on behalf of for the sake of unity, we acknowledge that uko na party yako, yule mwingine ako na party yake, na hata kama ako na MCAs watatu, there is a value that these people have. That brings
finally
on
on you. So why then because it's the same people who are now re-engineering their thought pattern and ideology, why then did you have to break NASA? You should have just stayed there and now said, now we have changed our minds, we are going to think differently.
You see, NASA, that's why I said the need for all of us to onboard the principles that are of like-minded. You realize the complexities that this could have brought when there was in National Super Alliance. One is that if you look at the agreement at the ORPP, you cannot form another coalition when you're still at the same coalition. That is not legal. But
then they didn't need it because they are the same guys.
I think that is... So the dynamics that came on board, the importance, because you realize by that time, KANU had already got into a coalition agreement with Jubilee.
They're still there.
And to some level, Wiper was equally making negotiations with Jubilee. So I think the technical committee in their wisdom, to avoid the legal hurdles that could have brought forward, it was important to break the NASA coalition. But now here is the problem, okay? Legally, NASA coalition is sharing positions in the parliament as a coalition. I think that whether minority or whether majority. Jubilee folded all the political parties into one, and therefore it is a party, not a coalition. And therefore, the legal hurdle is that the point at which NASA is broken, what would have been the fate of these political leaders who are within different respective camps? And I think that is the discussion, the hullabaloo that is now. You have realized that one coalition partner has been very candid enough not to withdraw, even as we speak. They have only written to the registrar, but they have not ratified the NDC, right? And you know the party I'm talking about. So I think for the complexities that are concerned, it was important to withdraw from NASA so that it provides for another legal,
but the same complexity transfers, because KANU has not left Jubilee, Wiper has not left Jubilee. So what is changing?
I think just to avoid, like I've said, the whole thing is to avoid the legal hurdles that this could have been presented.
So Oka
before.
cannot be possible legally, because also Jubilee, all these guys are members of Jubilee except ANC. which has not ratified actually the exit from NASA.
No, I think they've written to there's a discussion that they've written to the register.
Okay.
This is about to ratify the ANDC. So the thing is, however much we might, and it is actually the discussion we are having at the party, that it is important for us to, make sure that we avoid as much as legal hurdles. But even as we,
by creating more,
as we call
because Oka then is null and void from your argument
around Oka and. Bitok, I don't think
because the same law, you apply the same law.
I think the point is that what I've said is that even as we try as much as possible within the councils that are legal council that are advising, that to some level we will have a ground where we avoid all these legal hurdles that are forming before
before
as NASA and right now that OCA is being formed. These are discussions that are within the legal councils.
I hope you'll advise them right. Anyway, so you guys, you're busy saying you don't want coalitions. I've never known of a coalition in politics in Kenya that has worked without a coalition. Jubilee in itself was a coalition of URP and TNA and other small parties that were wrapped up to form the party. Now, you guys are telling us for once that you're not going to form any coalitions and you're not getting into any coalition talks. Now, the Constitution gives us a threshold of 50+1.
Yes.
And Kenyans, we have to appreciate that the Kenyan politics is marginalized at ethnic level, ethnically mobilized. And for you to gain those numbers, then you have to ask yourself, which regions are you bringing in and how are you bringing them in? Now, William Ruto has been very adamant and he has said that he's not going to get into coalition talks. We're also seeing cracks that are appearing within the Aslan nation. Moses Kuria has jumped ship from UDA, saying is Kiunjuri, and they're saying they're negotiating for Mount Kenya on the side. And the message is that William Ruto, you don't want an alliance or you don't want a coalition, then we are better off forming alliances and coalitions elsewhere. What is the strategy behind UDA to win the elections without coalitions?
Thank you very much, my brother Bitok. Before I answer that question, I want to talk about what my brother said, and I want to make a clarification. In Oka, they are going to elect a president in a room.
But you are not. But you are not in Oka.
You are not in Oka.
I'm asking about you.
You've been asked.
That is why he has not talked about you.
That's why because I could have.
No, he said you'll tell us about UDA.
I want Kenyans to know.
No, don't worry about Kenyans to know. I'll tell them. You tell us about UDA.
You tell us about your UDA.
You are denying me my right
because
of response.
Wait, first of all, tell us about UDA, then you'll give us the right of
In
reply.
UDA,
So after you've said UDA, you'll give your right of reply on UDA, you'll give a right of reply on ENC.
Very good.
On Oka.
in UDA, we don't want coalitions. With a simple reason, UDA, we are a national party.
Okay.
It is not a regional party. That is why we don't want a coalition. In UDA, the people from my village, Huisero in Kakamega,
In Huisero.
we are part of UDA. In UDA, if you go to Mombasa, they are represented from Wakena Omar Hassan. In UDA, if you go to Machakos, Wakena Madama are representing us. In UDA, if you go to Central, the whole of Central is there. So UDA is already a national party. And our coalition is with the Kenyans, not regional kingpins.
Okay.
What the other side they are doing for coalition, their parties are regional. For example, if you look at one of the parties representing ANC, the chairman comes from Vihiga, the secretary comes from Kakamega, the treasurer comes from Kakamega. So the ANC is a regional party. And
But
we know
it doesn't come from Kakamega.
then if you check at Ford Kenya, the whole official of Ford Kenya, they come from the one county, Bungoma County. So it's a regional party. If you go to Kanu, Kanu is not a regional party. Kanu is a family party. Kanu is a party of Gideon Moi and Nick Salat. Only two people. It is a family party. But if you go to United Democratic Alliance, we are a national party. So we have done our coalition with the Kenyans. So we don't need the regional kingpins to do a party. If you are talking about Kalonzo, Kalonzo has only influence in Ukambani. So theirs is a coalition of regional kingpin.
Then
Mambo ya Ukabila.
So when they all meet, they bring all the regions. Is that not very dangerous?
No, when they meet, they want to subdivide this country into tribalism. As we have moved from tribalism, we are talking about economy and the whole Kenyans. So UDA, we will not have a coalition because we already have a coalition with the Kenyans.
Okay.
Them, they need a coalitions because their parties are small, regional parties. Ukiangalia chama ANC wako na wabunge 10 kwa sasa. UDA at the moment we have over 150 MPs who are on our side. Okay. So already UDA we have not gone to the national election and we have over 150.
So you are a coalition as a party?
We are a coalition. We have a coalition with Kenyans,
with
not regional kingpins. And I want Kenyans to know this thing we are calling Oka is a false. Mimi nimeokolewa na damu ya Yesu, hizi vitu za Oka wote ni mikora. Kenya muelewe, Oka ni mikora, sisi tumeokolewa na damu ya Yesu. So my dear Kenyans, the Oka things is a fallacy. They are regional kingpins. Tutoke huko. A coalition of UDA is we have a coalition with all Kenyans. Sisi tumeokolewa na damu ya Yesu. Hawa watu wa Oka uokovu wa mikora.
You're right of reply.
Let me have a right of reply. Okay?
Very quickly, we are closing. We are 6 minutes past time.
you see, that's why I've said it's easily to get decepted, and there's a deception that is at UDA by this kind of lucid and conjugal discussion within UDA. First of all, he have not replied. You asked him why are they not allowing other parties on board.
He said the party is national party and they are fine the way it is. It comprises of every other region in the country in one party, so they don't feel the need to bring in
let me tell you the regional kingpins he's talking about, that the party is not looking, is exactly what William Ruto is appealing to. The issue, how else would you have not appealed to Central Kenya if you not get their regional representatives? They have been there, and you look at their faces. These are people that they are claiming to be having the community at their back, and they're bringing to William Ruto on board. So I think it's important for us always to put matters to perspective. That one, as we demonize, the need to look forward and ask other Kenyans to come on board, but you're also equally inviting other Kenyans on board, from different regional ethnicities, I think is hypocrisy. And I said here, this is a pyramid scheme that will crumble as we proceed. Things that are quoted on things that are not real, a discussion that has no tangible agenda, as we proceed, we are asking them, while you blame other political parties of their ethnic outlook, what is the ethnic outlook of your party? Who is the party leader? Who is the deputy? Who is all these people in the office? You realize that at least, even if that is put forward for publicity, but you're looking at the inner circle, other communities might not be accepted to make their decision there. Okay. So I think it's important for us to, to put that into perspective. But let me say again, and I like the way you are trying to make him bring some of these discussions on board. As we proceed, there is no any coalition that will have a first round win. None. And I will tell you this, no party. No coalition, no party. The prospects are there out clear, and you can actually see that IBC, to its effect, has even gazetted that young people that are 8 million are projected to be voting for the first time. So the catch is, if we are posting as people who are the saviors of this nation, hoodwinking young Kenyans into formulas that doesn't add up, it is important for us to work on a formula. How can we embrace other ethnic regions? They talk about we are face of the nation is not honest. Our politics as we speak is a politics that gravitates on ethnic, balkanization. And we are not saying that we are going to ethnicize and balkanize. First of all, let me tell you, there is nothing about Ukabila by talking about that you need to begin from home. I mean, Bitok, if you're going to run for your position as a national figure, you need to tell even your family at home that you're beginning to go for a leadership position. And therefore, you are requesting for their hand in supporting you. It is acceptable It is acceptable for you to walk in various corners of this country, to talk to people, to have your agenda. But it's also important to have people, because if you are here and your family are not endorsing your work, the reality, how then would we endorse your work? At the background, charity begins at home. And these are important things even in politics. We are not saying that we should force ethnicities down to their throat, but it's important to begin somewhere and tell people where you're beginning from.
Okay, all right. 1 minute as we finish.
As
we are 12 minutes past time.
Yes, as we finish, I wanted to...
Your right of reply to...
My right of reply
Malisa.
to what he has...
Strictly 1 minute.
Yes.
With 9:12 or 9:13.
Yes. In UDA, our presidential candidate will be elected through a nomination by all Kenyans. And as CHAPIA, the son of a retired primary school teacher, if I want to compete to become the presidential candidate of UDA, I will compete against my boss, William Ruto. In this OKOA, they already have their regional kingpin. For example, in ANC, there will be no democratic right to have a presidential candidate.
How do you know that?
They already have Musalia. In ODM, the same. They have Raila. In Wiper, they
Jimmy
have
Wanjigi
Kalonzo.
has...
In
Let him
Kano,
finish.
they have Gideon. So it is only the party that we have a national outlook, and we don't want to balkanize this country into regional kingpins or into tribalism. We are running away from tribalism. We want to discuss issues. That is why UDA, we are setting the pace. We set the pace of uchumi or economy in this country. They have started following us. While they are still in seminars eating mandazi wakitaka president, as we are already going back to the people to prepare our nomination.
You have a
finally,
candidate already.
Finally, UDA, we don't have a presidential candidate. Our presidential candidate will be elected by the people, not in a seminar watu wakikula mandazi huko wakichagua the presidential candidate. Finally, Kenyans, and I am begging you, hii kitu ya OKA, it is not the truth. It is the same NASA, the same people who are now going to form OKA. Sisi kwa UDA tumeokolewa na damu ya Yesu.
Haya, endeni nyumbani sasa. Asante.
Ni
Haya,
UDA.
see you guys.
Let me ask.
Endeni. Haya, tumefunga kazi. No, you're done. I gave you guys right of replies. It's been a pleasure having you, gentlemen. I hope to see you again in 2 weeks when you have your manifesto,
Sure.
and he has his manifesto, so that we can even get an opportunity.
Written.
An opportunity to choose. It's been a pleasure having you guys on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's always great to see you, Tech Class. Those are the guys on Twitter and the guys on Facebook as well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. This has been the Diaspora edition with CHAPIA and Ogoro who was joining us. What of this? Orogo. Both of them are joining us for the first time. So they've given us a deal. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to have both of them giving us a blueprint of their campaign. But also in the 2 weeks up, also we'll be sure about the coalitions that would have happened.
Absolutely.
So we'll be able to know you're speaking for the coalition or for the party.
Yes.
All right.
Written. You said we were coming with a written.
You're coming with a written.
We'll leave one with you here.
Blueprint.
Yes.
Mtanimanisha mapema.
Yes.
Ndio nianze kuangalia. Ndio niwaulize maswali.
Right away. We already have it.
Oh, you already have it? Very good. Nitumie. Sasa ndugu yako in 2 weeks.
No worries. No worries. No worries.
So it's been a pleasure having you guys. Thank you so much. Poleni sikuweza kufungua bunga la mwenye nchi leo kwa sababu niliona mchakato na mazungumzo ilikuwa imechacha kweli. Kwa hivyo hadi kesho tuonane kwenye sheria wiki na Daktari Ekuro Court na timu yake ndio tujue ni yapi ambayo amekuwa akiendelea. Pia tukianza kuangazia yale mazungumzo ama ile ruling ambayo inaendelea pale kotini on Appeal Court, Supreme Court tomorrow. So you're going to have a conversation around what could be happening and also what you expect from Friday going forward. It's going to be an historic day tomorrow as we know whether we're going to have reggae bag ama DJ baada ko anaitwa nini lockdown ana kama DJ baada atakuwa lockdown ama the reggae tarudi. Until tomorrow, we love you and take care. This is a tackle and it ends now. Bye bye.